how are you? Welcome to the Bridgeton Public Library in downtown Bridgeton, New Jersey. We're going to give you a tour today to show you the services that the library provides, and hopefully you can come and visit us. I just wanted to show you, this is our book drop. You bring your materials and books back here. You can stick them right in there so you don't have to come into the library if you don't want to. Or if it's a time when the library is closed, you can deliver the stuff here and we check them in every morning. Okay, now, you know, because of COVID, we have to wear masks. So if you look at some of the signs on the door, it's a face mask or covering is required. And when we go into the library, normally somebody will take our temperature to make sure that we're okay. So I'm gonna put on our mask, and I hope you can still hear me. Welcome to the library. I just wanted to point out that every month or so we change our display, and this is Hispanic Heritage Month, and a few of the girls that work here put this together, and it looks really beautiful, and it celebrates all the different cultural aspects and different people that have contributed to Hispanic culture in some way, past and present. So when you come in the library, always look at our display for something really interesting. And in our hallway we have interesting things. If you need any information about local services, community services, we also have some local newspapers. And we have our eagle, which somebody named Hedwig. I guess that's the library's mascot. So this is the front desk. And here you can get a library card, take out books, and all that good stuff. So in order to get a library card, you need to have a couple of items. You have to be a resident of the city of Bridgeton in order to get a free library card. And you would have to show your driver's license with your name and Bridgeton address on it in order to get that library card. So this is the front of our desk. This is where a lot of the action happens. Here's our indoor book drop. You can return books here, and one of the nice ladies will come up and help you if you need some help. And here we have our adult section. We have new books available here. Anything that comes up that we order, just look at this area and you can get a new book. And we also have a number of services that people that use the library come here to do. One of them would be this copy machine over here. This is a very popular machine. People make copies, and they can also scan things and send them to email, or they can scan something and put it on a flash drive. And I made up an instruction list in case people had some problems with the copy machine. They can look on that and kind of self-guide them through the process. Here's where we keep our daily newspapers. And over here on this wall is where all our periodicals are. These are periodicals is another name for magazines. And if you want a copy that's an older copy, we keep all the current copies on here. If you want an older copy, just lift this, and there we have all the older copies in order by date. How cool is that? Some of the magazines are more popular and we don't want people to walk away with them, so we keep them behind the desk. And this is our printer station. Well, we kind of started backwards, because usually people that are using our computers then utilize our printer. And whatever they're working on at the computer, they print stuff out, and this is the area that you could do that. And it comes out right here. Yay! But it is a pain. You have to pay for copies, so. And if you want to support the library, the Friends of the Library are selling all this wonderful stuff. You can buy a sweatshirt, a hat, or a shirt, and we also have a jewelry sale in this container. Everything is $2. And then I set up some local stuff of interest, local cultural things and places you can go visit, both on this top of this and the top of that bookshelf as well. And I also have a little exhibit about nature and the earth and local.orgs, environmental.orgs that you can join or go hang out with them and do their events. We have a fairly sizable collection of DVDs, movies, yay, you can rent movies. You take whichever one you want, you go up to the front desk, and the ladies, we keep the DVDs in the back, and they'll help you, and they'll get the DVD that you want and check that out. And I don't know if you could see, but look at these books. Look at all these books. That's what a library is all about, basically. Borrowing items. And you can not only borrow DVDs, but you could borrow reference books, fiction, mystery, and nonfiction. Let's go look at the nonfiction section. Here we have our oversized books, meaning that they're just too big to put on a regular shelf. All these books are oversized. They're also called coffee table books. They're wonderful. They're usually on just one subject. For instance, don't you want to know everything about gnomes? Yes, you do. So you can come here to the library and look at this wonderful book on gnomes. That's right. And if you can see down this corridor here, these are all of our nonfiction books. And how you find out what the nonfiction books are about is by the Dewey Decimal System, which is a series of numbers that indicates the subject matter. So for instance, if you're looking for a biography or a genealogy, which relates to family and ancestry, you would look in the 920s. And so for example, let's go down here. Well, look, 920s. We've got biographies on all sorts of different people, past and present. Very interesting. Like if you want to know anything you want to know about George Washington, here's a book on George Washington. We have a number of them. That's wonderful. Yay. So what a library is all about is books and information. It's good to have a lot of information. Do you know what reference means? Reference are books that you use to find out information about specific subjects. Yeah, I can talk. We have a lot of interesting reference books, like the Dictionary of National Biography, Who's Who Among Black Americans, all kinds of stuff, 20th Century Day by Day. So I don't know if you're familiar with the term encyclopedia, but they're sort of encyclopedia in nature, but more specific to the subject, reference books. And what's really nice is that we have a really awesome local section right here. And this is all about the area. It goes from New Jersey down to Cumberland County, and we have all sorts of local wonderful books all about the area, all over Cumberland County. So if you want to come and really get into your local history and anything about New Jersey, we have a lot of information about that. So that's really, really critical in a library, to have information on local history. Usually there's a history room, but this is our history room. It's our history shelf. So we're going to come back over here and take a look at, these are our computers for our patrons. Because of COVID, we have to kind of reduce the amount of computers that we have so that people stay safe and they stay socially distanced. Usually all these computers will be up and running and available to folks. But we have 4 going right here. And what folks do is that they put their library card number in here and the computer pops up and they have about an hour to do their work. They can go on the internet, they can write a paper on Microsoft Word, they can do a bunch of stuff. And for folks that only need the computer for a short time, we have a 15-minute station, which means that's all the time you get, 15 minutes. Some people just want to pop in, go in line, print something out really quickly, and get going. So that's why we have this convenient station for them. And if you'll come with me this way, here's our card catalog. But before the card catalog, here's where you can access our 2 New Jersey papers that we subscribe to, the South Jersey Times and the Daily Journal. The most recent copy will always be on top, and then the week's copies will be underneath. And here's our card catalog. This means you can look up whatever book we have or whatever books are in our sister libraries, the Millville Library and the Vineland Library. So for instance, if I put in a word zoo and press the search, it should come up with all different kinds of interesting information about zoos. And you can refine the search by author, subject, whether it's here or at Millville or Vineland, whether it's an adult book or juvenile book. Card catalogs are really awesome. Do you see this there? That's an old card catalog. So people used to have to look through these, and one book would be on an index card, and you would have to look alphabetically through that. It's so much easier with the computer, don't you think? And this is our children's section. We love this part. We have lots of interesting books here for kids, not only for their entertainment, but also for educational purposes. We have picture books from some of the young kids that I like to read on my story times. Have you watched a story time? They're awesome. You can go to bridgetonlibrary.org and watch the latest story time. Or you can go to Bridgeton Library YouTube channel and watch all the old story times, older story times, and they're wonderful. We've been going on the road lately. I'm going to leave this out so I don't put it back in the wrong place. Oh, that's important. When you come here and look at a book, it's better if you just leave it out on the table so that we can put it back in the right place so that the next person can find it. Or if somebody orders the book, we can find it for them. So we're not searching around, oh, where's that book? And just like the adult section, the children's section has new books. So whatever comes in, whether it's for little ones, for teens, for tweens, it's going to be right here. We have a lot of good books, a lot of interesting books, a lot of wonderful stuff, not only fiction, but nonfiction as well. Like, how about, let's learn colors. All right. And the way you can tell if it's fiction or nonfiction, nonfiction will always have the Dewey Decimal System, and fiction will have the author's name. That's the difference. And here are our nonfiction books for younger kids. All this information you could ever think of about a million different subjects. Like, for instance, do you want to know about whales? You can come here and get this eyewitness book about whales. And you could discover the world of marine mammals. And we have a lot of other books about whales and dolphins and seals right here, because it's a library. We love that. And this is a learning computer. Kids can come and play all sorts of interesting educational and entertaining games. You can learn all about time. You can play games with music, and it's in English and Spanish, which is really great for our community. We have easy reader books. They're leveled books for kids that are in specific grades that match what they're learning and how they're learning. And we also have a bunch of DVDs and musical selections over here, like Sing Along with Putumayo. You can take this home if you have a library card. All right, let's see. For the older kids, we have these books Against This Wall and all the way down this wall. It's called juvenile fiction. For instance, I know that a lot of you guys love series. So we have Mike Lupica and all of the books that Mike Lupica ever wrote. We have them here. We have all kinds of interesting books. We have Magic Treehouse. We have a lot of Magic Treehouse, and that's a lot of fun, very interesting, very exciting and engaging. You go on adventures with those books. We have some really awesome stuff. How about Geronimo Stilton, Secret Agent? Oh, that looks really exciting. That's bad. Look at this one. Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey. That looks like a really great book. Okay, let's see. Just like the adults, we have computers for kids. And on these computers, you could play games. You could do your homework. You can access the internet and look up things that you need to for class and all that stuff. And I just wanted to show you that we have wonderful books like Dog Man, a personal favorite of mine. Really funny book. So not only do we have stuff for little kids and tweens, we have a teen section, and that's right over here. But I just wanted to show you that we do have reference books for our kids that need help with homework or finding interesting facts. We also have Guinness books. We have an extension cord. We have Guinness books of world records and atlases and all kinds of information. And we have graphic novels over here. These are very popular these days. The graphic novels where they start from this side and they go to where normally a front of the book would be. And then here's our teen section. Teens can come in here, chill, read a book, relax, do their homework. And we usually keep teen or YA, it's called young adult. We have all of our new books here. How about this wonderful book on Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Rest in peace, Justice Ginsburg. You can learn all about her life and work if you come to the library. All right. Oh, there's another thing I wanted to mention. For the adult side, we have fax capabilities too. So if you want to fax something, or if you want to receive a fax here, you could do that. So stay tuned because we're going to go downstairs and look at our museum. So thank you for taking the tour of the library. Please come in. We're open Tuesday through Friday from 10 to 5 and on Saturdays from 9 to 4. So come on into the Bridgeton Library and learn something with us. Hey everybody. Guess where we are? We're still at the Bridgeton Library. Can you believe it? But this time we're in the basement. No, it's not scary. It's not scary at all. We're at the George J. Woodruff Museum of Indian Artifacts. Normally, because of COVID, I'd be wearing my mask, but I have a lower half of my face. Isn't that incredible? Just because it's me and the ghost that's filming me. We're going to do it without a mask so you can hear me more clearly. So why don't you come in? Now, what this museum is, it's a local gentleman named Mr. George Woodruff, and he spent years and years gathering these wonderful artifacts all around this area, all around the Cumberland County area. He probably went into Salem County as well, maybe Gloucester, who knows. But these artifacts all belong to our native South Jersey tribe of the Lenni Lenape. And it's incredible. It's amazing. These are museum quality artifacts that really, probably should be in a wing of the Smithsonian in Washington somewhere, but we are lucky enough to have them right here in Bridgeton. So if you'll kind of look over here, we have all sorts of tools and implements that the Lenape used in their everyday lives to, work their things that they had, to catch animals for food, to work the leather that they made out of the animals and their teepees and tents. Everything you can think of. They use mortars and pestle to ground different things into flour, probably like acorns or nuts. They have, Mr. Woodruff collected thousands of arrowheads. If you just look in any of these display cases, thousands and thousands of arrowheads. He found cannonballs, different implements that the Native Americans used, balls for perhaps a game that the kids played. Just beautiful stuff. And this specifically is Cohansey or Greenwich quartzite. So obviously the Lenni Lenape used the stone and rock that came from the area that they were living in. Mr. Woodruff also collected shards from pots If you can see over in this display case here, all of these pots that were used for storage, cooking, gathering, perhaps gifts or trading, they were all in shards, meaning they were all in pieces. And people took hours and hours and hours and days to reconstruct these pots from the shards that they found. It's truly miraculous. It says here they were pieced together by George Woodruff's longtime friend and artist, a gentleman named Howard Radcliffe. So Mr. Woodruff collected artifacts for the rest of his life, and he kept items. He kept he kept a record of each item, and with notations of the date, the site, and the identification of his finds. So he really did a lot of research and cataloging that a librarian in a museum would do for artifacts such as these. It says that he found his first arrowhead when he was 10 years old in a field in his father's farm, and then he went on to collect for the rest of his life. So here we've got some pipes. They're from 500 BC to 500 AD. They're ranged for 1,000 years. Different pipes made out of soapstone or statite and clay. And look at all the arrowheads. I mean, just look at them all. And they vary in color, shape, and size, depending on the stone or rock that was used. It's really quite amazing. Lenni Lenape used tools to do whatever they needed to do to get through their day and live their lives. And their axe heads down here. So they worked these stone to use axes probably to fashion wood and or, maybe cut up a critter. And for food, of course. And we've got banner stones. They were used as weights to thrust when a spear was thrown. We've got more clay beads that they probably used for jewelry or trading. Wampum, they used it for money. And these items are called celts or celts. They're ungrooved axes fastened on a handle. They could be removed and used as a hand tool. They were among the first stone tools to be devised. So the Lenni Lenapes were with and ahead of their time, I'm sure. And these are arrowheads all made out of black flint. And these are all crystal and quartz arrowheads. And here are some of those clay pots that I was talking about that Mr. Radcliffe put together. I wonder how long it took him to put these things together, because look at that. Piecing them, I'm sure he had to fill in a little bit. Not quite sure what he used to have the pieces stick together, or if he had to use a little compound to, fill in the gaps when he couldn't find a tiny piece. But all of these pots were found in the area. There's one from Fairton, there's one from Lower Hopewell, from Shiloh, from Indian Head, from Othello. Here's one from Bridgeton down here in the lower left corner. There's an incredible collection. We've got more clay pots over here. And we also have paint pots. Broken pieces of pottery were used to they may have been used to hold face or body paint. And here are some shards of pots. So what a puzzle these must have been to try to put together. And here's one that's only partially constructed. And we've got drinking cups too. Now, it's amazing to me because they must have had a system where they fired these things. They must have had kilns or an oven or maybe even just a fire that they put a finished clay piece in to finish it off. And look at all these beautiful arrowheads and all different kinds of quartz. And there's some flint in there and more clay pots. It's really extraordinary. This collection is amazing. Folks come in here and they just marvel at the collection. So, do you know anything about the Lenni Lenape of this area? They were all around this whole area in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware and up into New York State. And they were known as the wisest tribe, meaning a lot of the other surrounding tribes and tribelets all up into New York State and west and south of here would come to the Lenape, and they would actually have them mediate for them. So they were considered very wise and gentle people. And the ones that are down here in South Jersey would go where the fish were running, or when the shellfish were booming, or when the acorns were dropping off the trees. They would go to the place where they could get the food, and they would travel seasonally. And there's been shell mounds that have been found along the Delaware Bay and along the Jersey Shore that go into the ground as deep as 14 feet, or and they can be piled up. Oyster and clam and other bivalves shells that would go up to be 20 feet high. So imagine that, like a 34-foot stack of shells. That must have been quite a feast. Now here we have got some interesting stuff before we say goodbye, and hopefully entice you to come and visit and look at this wonderful stuff on your own. We have hammer stones. They were used for pounding. You can note the depression in the top of each stone. It could be used for, where you would put your thumb to pound something. We've got more hammer stones down here. We have stones that were used for hoes to work the land. Of course, it was probably women that were cultivating, working the land and cultivating their crops. And for fishing, since this is such an incredible area for fish, the bay and also the seashore, they had net sinkers, something they would attach a net to. I'm not quite sure what the net was made out of, straw or perhaps something sinew from an animal. And they would use it to throw the net out into a stream and create something called a weir with stones, where they would force the fish into an area where they could collect it and, have some dinner and lunch for the next day. And then these are called net sinkers. Do you see how some of the stones are worked on the side? They have grooves in it all the way around. And that was so they could tie the net around there and use the stone as a weight. And these are shaft smoothers. Do you see the grooves that are worked into the tops of the stones? They are for smoothing the shafts of arrows and spears. So they really knew how to work with stone and use stone to their best advantage. I'm sure it was passed down from thousands of years of practice from their ancestors. And here we have some wonderful axes, big, giant axe heads and smaller ones. Yeah, that's how they talk in museums, the smallers. And we've got different spearheads and arrowheads made out of different types of stone and rock. And here we've got more. These are pestles. It's a tool that you would use inside of a mortar to ground stuff. And just one more area over here where there's triangular arrowheads, and they're really beautiful. Just the colors are amazing. They were used to stun geese. I don't know why they would have to stun a goose, but they actually kept geese as a flock of animals because of their eggs. So the Lenape knew what they were doing. They were all over this area, and thank goodness Mr. Woodruff managed to dig all this stuff up before more development happened in the area. Otherwise, we never would have had any idea that all this stuff was there, and we get to enjoy it now in the present day. So please come to the museum. The museum, unfortunately, because of COVID right now, is on a by appointment only. So give us a call at the museum. Let us know when you want to come, and you can come right in. So thank you so much for going on this library tour with us and our museum tour. We're happy to have you come on in and use your wonderful local Bridgeton library.